I've always been the family glue, the reliable one, the one who remembers everyone's birthdays, anniversaries, and favorite foods, the one who drops everything when someone needs help, the one who plans gatherings months in advance to make sure everyone can come. That's me, Emma Morgan, family caretaker extraordinaire. This Thanksgiving was supposed to be special. After years of cramming into Mom and Dad's dining room or my sister Melissa's kitchen, I was finally hosting in my own home. The house I'd saved for years to buy, working double shifts and weekends, while everyone else in my family took vacations and bought new cars. My little two-bedroom craftsman wasn't fancy, but it was mine. And I'd spent the last 3 months preparing it for this day. I'd called Mom in early October to claim Thanksgiving hosting duties. "I'd really like to have everyone at my place this year," I said, trying to keep my voice casual, though my heart was pounding with excitement. "Oh?" Mom sounded distracted. "Well, we usually do it here, but I suppose we could try something different." Her tone suggested she was doing me a tremendous favor, though she complained every year about the work involved in hosting. Great! I rushed ahead before she could change her mind. "I've already started planning the menu. I thought I'd try Grandma Morgan's cornbread stuffing recipe, the one with the sausage." That got her attention. "You're going to make Mom's stuffing?" "I don't know, honey. That's pretty complicated. Maybe I should make it and bring it." "I can handle it," I said firmly. "I found her handwritten recipe card in that box of photos you gave me." The small victory felt important, claiming this piece of family heritage for myself. "Well," Mom hesitated, "if you're sure. Just don't be upset if it doesn't turn out like hers." That was 2 months ago. Since then, I'd practiced the stuffing recipe twice, getting it perfect on the second try. I'd scoured antique stores for additional matching plates to accommodate everyone. I'd repainted the dining room a warm sage green that looked amazing with the afternoon light filtering through my lace curtains. I'd even refinished the hardwood dining table I'd found at an estate sale, spending weekends stripping, sanding, and staining until it gleamed like it was brand new. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I called Mom again to confirm the details. "Everyone's still coming, right? I'm planning a big spread." "Of course, honey," she assured me. "Your father's looking forward to seeing the new place, and Melissa can't wait to bring the kids." My sister's twins were 4 now, adorable little monsters who I spoiled rotten with presents whenever I saw them, which wasn't as often as I'd like, since Melissa always seemed to be too busy for sister time. When Dad got on the phone, his voice had that forced cheerfulness I knew too well. "We'll be there with bells on, Princess. Wouldn't miss it." Something in his tone made me pause, but I brushed it aside. My family had never been great at communication, but surely they wouldn't miss Thanksgiving, not after I'd talked about hosting for months. "Great. I'm thinking we'll eat around 2, but come any time after noon. I'll have appetizers ready." "Sounds perfect," Dad said. "Oh, and your mother wants to know if you need her to bring anything. This was our dance. Mom would offer to bring something, hoping I'd say yes, so she could criticize whatever I made." "Just yourselves," I said cheerfully. "I've got everything covered." A week before Thanksgiving, I sent a group text with my address, even though everyone had it, and a reminder about the time. Mom replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Melissa sent, "Can't wait. The kids are excited to see Auntie Emma." Dad, as usual, didn't respond at all. I spent the next week planning everything down to the minute. I created a Pinterest board with table settings and decoration ideas. I ordered a special tablecloth from a boutique shop, cream-colored with delicate embroidered fall leaves along the border. It cost more than I should have spent, but I wanted that picture-perfect holiday moment. On the Monday before Thanksgiving, I took a rare day off work to go grocery shopping. I pushed my cart through crowded aisles, filling it with everything we'd need. A 20-pound turkey, on the expensive side, but I wanted the best. Potatoes, cranberries, ingredients for 3 different pies, and all the trimmings. The cashier raised her eyebrows at my overflowing cart. "Big family?" she asked. "Yes," I said proudly. "Everyone's coming to my place this year. First time hosting." "Well, they're lucky to have you," she said, scanning a bag of Brussels sprouts. Not everyone would go to all this trouble. Her words warmed me as I loaded my car with grocery bags. Not everyone would go to all this trouble. But I would. For my family. Because that's what I did. I showed love through effort, through careful planning, through the perfect meal served in the perfect setting. Tuesday night after work, I started the preliminary food prep. Sweet potato casserole with a pecan streusel topping, homemade cranberry sauce with orange zest, a spinach salad with candied walnuts, goat cheese, and pomegranate seeds. I stayed up until midnight making pie crusts from scratch, then collapsed into bed, dreaming of the perfect Thanksgiving. Wednesday was a blur of activity. I took another day off work to prepare everything that could be made ahead. My tiny kitchen barely contained all the preparations. By evening, my hands were raw from washing dishes, but I didn't mind. I imagined the look on everyone's faces when they saw the spread, especially Mom, who always criticized my cooking. Too much salt, she'd say, or you really should have followed Grandma's recipe. But this time would be different. This time I'd get it right. Before bed, I set the table. Crystal glasses I'd found at an antique store caught the light from my dining room window. The new tablecloth looked even prettier than I'd hoped. I'd written everyone's names on little place cards with gold calligraphy. Mine at the head of the table, Mom and Dad to my right, Melissa, her husband Greg, and the twins to my left. Greg's place setting included a special non-alcoholic sparkling cider since he was 5 years sober, a detail I'd proudly remembered. I stood back and admired my work. Perfect, just like in the magazines. For once, Mom wouldn't be able to find a single thing to criticize. Thanksgiving morning, I woke at 5 a.m. to put the turkey in. The house filled with that familiar holiday smell, rosemary, thyme, and roasting meat. I hummed as I worked, checking my phone occasionally. No messages, but they'd be driving, I figured. Mom and Dad lived about an hour away, and Melissa and her family were coming from the suburbs, about 40 minutes in the opposite direction. By noon, everything was nearly ready. The turkey was roasting beautifully, filling the house with savory aromas. The side dishes were either finished or in their final stages. The pies, pumpkin, apple, and pecan were cooling on a rack by the window. I sent a group text. "Everything's almost ready. Can't wait to see you all. Drive safe." 3 dots appeared from Mom's phone, then disappeared. Nothing else. I frowned, but decided not to read too much into it. Reception could be spotty on the highway. Maybe they were already in the car. I checked the time. 1:30 p.m. We'd agreed on 2 said, but family is always early on Thanksgiving, right? I peeked through the front window. No cars. I used the time to freshen up, changing from my cooking clothes into a new burgundy sweater dress I'd bought specially for the occasion. I curled my hair, applied light makeup, and even put on the pearl earrings Mom had given me for my 30th birthday last year. I wanted everything to be perfect, including me. By 2:15, the turkey was resting, tented with foil. The mashed potatoes were staying warm in the oven. The green bean casserole was perfectly browned on top. I'd even made Mom's favorite, creamed pearl onions, despite personally hating them. Still no sign of anyone. I called Mom. Straight to voicemail. I called Dad. Same thing. Melissa's phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. A knot formed in my stomach. I told myself they must be together, stuck in traffic maybe, phones dying at the same time. It happens. I sent another text to the group. "Food's ready. Where is everyone?" No response. By 3:00, I was pacing. The food was ready. The candles I'd set out were still unlit. The ice in the water glasses had melted, leaving small rings on my perfect tablecloth. At 3:30, I called Mum again. This time she picked up on the second ring. "Hello?" Background noise, laughter, the sound of waves. "Mum, where are you? Everyone was supposed to be here an hour and a half ago." A pause. "Oh, honey." Her voice dropped. "Didn't Melissa tell you? We decided to do something different this year. The room seemed to tilt. Different? Greg's parents have a timeshare in Cancun. They invited us all down for Thanksgiving week. The weather is just gorgeous. I sank into a chair, the phone pressed against my ear. But I've been planning this for months. I told you I was hosting. I thought you knew, sweetheart. Melissa was supposed to tell you weeks ago. In the background, I heard Dad call out, "Is that her? Put her on speaker." Mom's voice became distant. "It's Emma. She's upset about Thanksgiving." Then Dad, slightly slurred, "Emmy, you should see this place, ocean view, all-inclusive. Greg's parents really know how to do it upright." I could barely form words. "You didn't think to call me, to let me know you weren't coming?" "Oh, honey," Mom said, her voice dripping with full sympathy. "We thought you'd be busy with friends. Don't you have that new boyfriend?" "Mark?" "Matt," I corrected automatically. "We broke up a month ago. I told you that." "Did you? Well, you know how forgetful I am these days." She laughed, and I heard glasses clinking. "Are you having a toast?" I asked, my voice hollow. "Just sunset cocktails on the beach. You should see the colors. It's magnificent. I'll send you pictures." My dining room table, perfectly set, completely empty, seemed to mock me. "Don't bother," I said. "Now don't be like that, Emma. There's always next year. Or you could have flown down. Greg's parents would have paid for your ticket too." "No one invited me," I said, the realization hitting like a physical blow. Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm sure Melissa meant to. You know how busy she is with the twins." I could hear my niece and nephew shrieking with laughter in the background, Melissa's voice calling to them, "Kids, don't go too far into the water." "I have to go," I said. "Enjoy your sunset." "Emma, wait." I hung up. For a long moment, I just sat there staring at my phone. Then, as if in a dream, I opened Instagram. The most recent post on my feed was from my sister, posted 20 minutes ago. It was a perfect family photo. Mom, Dad, Melissa, Greg, the twins, and Greg's parents, all in matching white linen outfits on a pristine beach. Glasses raised toward a fiery sunset. The caption read, "So thankful for family time. Blessed just Cancun life. This a Thanksgiving paradise." 17 likes already. I hadn't been tagged. I scrolled down. 3 days of photos from their trip. Beach shots, pool shots, fancy dinners. Every single member of my family enjoying paradise, while I'd been calling and texting about turkey temperatures and place settings. My finger hovered over the screen. I could comment. I could call them out. I could post my own photo. The empty table I'd spent days preparing. Instead, I set the phone face down and looked around my silent house. The table with its perfect settings. The food getting cold in the kitchen. The wine I'd carefully selected to pair with each course. I just sat there and let the food go cold, just like my heart. The realization settled over me like a heavy blanket. I wasn't forgotten. I was excluded. There's a difference. Forgetting implies an accident, a slip of the mind. This was deliberate, a family decision that I wasn't worth including. I walked into the kitchen and surveyed the feast I'd prepared. The golden brown turkey, the crystal bowl of homemade cranberry sauce, the 3 pies cooling on the counter, pumpkin, apple, and pecan, because everyone in my family has a different favorite. My throat tightened as I picked up the carving knife. No one would be eating this turkey. No one would compliment my flaky pie crusts. No one would ask for seconds of my grandmother's secret recipe stuffing that I'd spent hours recreating. I set the knife down and reached for my phone again. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe Greg's parents had limited space and could only invite so many people. Maybe. I scrolled through Melissa's Instagram again. A photo from yesterday caught my eye. A group shot at a restaurant. Behind my family at another table sat at least 10 other people, all wearing matching Garcia family reunion t-shirts. So Greg's extended family was there, but not me. I opened my text messages, scrolling back through the last few weeks. There it was, my message from 3 weeks ago. So excited to host everyone for Thanksgiving. Let me know if you have any dietary restrictions or special requests. Mom had responded with a thumbs up emoji. Melissa had sent back, "Can't wait." Dad hadn't responded at all. Lies, all lies. I poured myself a glass of the expensive Cabernet I'd bought specially for dinner and took a long sip. Then another. The rich, fruity taste I'd been looking forward to sharing with Dad, who fancied himself a wine connoisseur, now felt bitter on my tongue. My phone buzzed with a text. "Mom, don't be upset, honey. We'll do Christmas at your place to make up for it." Another buzz. A photo from Dad, my family raising colorful cocktails against the sunset backdrop. The rage built slowly, starting as a knot in my stomach and rising until my hands shook. Christmas? They thought they could just reschedule my feelings like a dental appointment. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to my living room and sank into the couch, wine glass in hand. The silence of the house pressed in around me. I'd even made a special Thanksgiving playlist, upbeat but classy background music for dinner conversation that would never happen. As the sun began to set outside my window, the same sun my family was toasting to in Cancun, I thought about all the times I'd been the afterthought, the backup plan, the reliable one who would understand when plans changed. When I was 16, I'd qualified for a national speech competition in Chicago. It was the biggest achievement of my young life, but Mom and Dad couldn't attend because Melissa had a soccer tournament the same weekend. "She's counting on us to be there," Mom had explained. "You understand, right? You're the independent one." I'd gone to Chicago with my speech teacher and won second place. No one was there to see it. When Melissa got married, I was asked to step down as maid of honor because her new friend from work would be offended if she wasn't chosen. I understood. I helped plan the shower, the bachelorette party, and handled all the last-minute crises on the wedding day. During her speech, Melissa thanked everyone but me. When Dad needed a loan for his sure-thing business venture, I emptied my savings account, money I'd been saving for a down payment on a house. When the business failed 6 months later, and I gently asked about repayment, he said I should consider it a family contribution. I understood. I took a second job to rebuild my savings, working nights and weekends for 2 years. When Mom's 60th birthday came around, I organized a surprise party, invited all her friends, and spent weeks planning. Then 2 days before, everyone's plans mysteriously changed. They were all suddenly busy. Later, I found out Melissa had organized a more intimate dinner the same night. I wasn't invited. Still, I understood. But this, being excluded from a family Thanksgiving, being lied to for weeks, being left to prepare a feast for ghosts, this I could not understand. My phone buzzed again. Melissa this time. "Mom says you're upset. Don't be dramatic. We'll do Christmas at your place, promise." The familiar pattern revealed itself. They'd exclude me, then minimize my feelings. They'd make hollow promises about next time, and I, desperate for their approval, would forgive them. The cycle would continue. Not this time. I took another sip of wine and made a decision. I wouldn't respond. Not tonight, not tomorrow. Maybe not for a long time. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of my anger or the comfort of my forgiveness. Instead, I went back to the dining room and looked at my beautiful, empty table. I'd been so proud of it, the matching plates, the folded napkins, the name cards in perfect calligraphy. Carefully, I removed one place setting, mine. I carried it to the kitchen, filled my plate with small portions of everything I'd made, and returned to the table. I lit the candles I'd bought, ivory tapers in crystal holders, and turned on the playlist I'd created. Soft jazz filled the room as I sat down at my solitary place setting. "Happy Thanksgiving to me," I whispered, raising my wine glass in a toast to the empty chairs. The first bite of turkey was perfect, juicy, flavorful, not dry at all like Mom always claimed my cooking was. The mashed potatoes were creamy with just the right amount of garlic. The green bean casserole was better than any version my sister had ever brought to a family gathering. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. This meal represented weeks of planning, days of cooking, years of trying to be good enough for people who would never appreciate the effort. As I ate, my phone continued to buzz, text after text. I ignored them all. My sister, "You're being childish." My mother, "We'll make it up to you." My father, "Don't make your mother feel bad." Classic. Somehow in their minds, I was already the villain in this story. After dinner, I cut small slices of each pie and arranged them on a dessert plate. Outside, night had fallen. In my reflection in the darkened window, I saw something I hadn't noticed before, the set of my jaw, the straightness of my shoulders. I looked determined. My phone rang. Mom again. I declined the call. I finished my pie sampler, each variety delicious in its own way. The pecan, Dad's favorite, was rich and perfectly sweet. The apple, Melissa's choice, had just the right amount of cinnamon. And the pumpkin, traditional, reliable, often overlooked, was perhaps the best of all, like me. When I finished eating, I blew out the candles and sat in the dark dining room. My phone had finally stopped buzzing. They'd given up for now, probably returning to their beachside celebration, secure in the knowledge that I'd get over it. I always did. But as I looked at the empty chairs around my table, each one reserved for someone who'd chosen not to be there, I felt something unfamiliar take root inside me. It wasn't sadness, though that was there too. It wasn't even anger, though I had every right to be angry. It was resolve. For years, I'd been the family doormat, always available, always understanding, always willing to be the bigger person. I'd excused their behavior, justified their actions, and blamed myself for expecting too much. No more. I picked up my phone and opened the family group chat. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could lash out. I could guilt trip. I could demand apologies. Instead, I typed, "I need some space. Please don't contact me for a while." Then I muted the conversation, set my phone aside, and began clearing the table. The leftovers, enough to feed a family of 7 for days, went into containers. The turkey carcass went into a pot for stock. Nothing would be wasted. As I cleaned, I made plans. Tomorrow, I would take most of the leftovers to the homeless shelter downtown. I would call my friend Diane, who I knew was spending Thanksgiving alone after her divorce, and invite her for leftovers dinner. I would sign up for that pottery class I'd been putting off because family obligations always seemed to get in the way. And I would start building boundaries, solid, unmovable boundaries, with the people who had shown me, in the clearest way possible, exactly where I stood in their lives. By the time I finished cleaning, it was nearly midnight. My kitchen sparkled, counters clean, dishes put away. No evidence remained of the feast that never happened, except for the containers of food stacked neatly in my refrigerator. I walked through my quiet house, turning off lights as I went. In the living room, I paused by the collection of family photos on the wall. Mom and Dad on their anniversary, Melissa's wedding, the twins' birth, holidays and celebrations from years past. I studied these images of my smiling family, looking for clues I might have missed. Had they always seen me as an outsider? Had I been trying to earn a place at a table where there was never truly a seat for me? My whole life, I'd been the responsible one, the practical one, the one who would sacrifice without complaint. When we were kids, Melissa was the princess while I was the steady, reliable one. "Emma will understand," was my parents' favorite phrase when plans changed to accommodate my sister's whims. I thought about my childhood bedroom, converted to a home gym when I left for college. While Melissa's room remained untouched for years after she moved out, preserved like a shrine, I thought about the family vacations I'd missed because I was working, saving money, being responsible, while everyone else went to the beach, to Europe, to theme parks. My 30th birthday last year, a milestone I'd hoped might warrant special attention, had been a casual dinner at a restaurant I didn't choose. Mom had spent most of the evening showing everyone pictures from Melissa's twins' birthday party the weekend before. An elaborate affair with professional decorations, a hired clown, and personalized party favors for each child. "We're just not big on birthdays," Mum had said, when I mentioned feeling a little overlooked. Besides, 30 isn't that special. 2 months later, she'd thrown Dad a surprise 60th birthday party with 50 guests, custom cocktails, and a live band. As I climbed the stairs to my bedroom, I felt strangely light, as if I'd set down a heavy burden I'd been carrying for years. The hurt was still there, raw and throbbing, but alongside it was something unexpected, relief. I'd finally seen the truth, painful as it was. And now that I'd seen it, I could choose how to respond. I could choose to value myself even if they didn't. I could choose to stop chasing approval that would never fully come. In bed, I checked my phone one last time. 17 missed calls, 29 text messages, all variations on the same theme. I was overreacting, I was being dramatic, I was ruining everyone's holiday. I turned off my phone completely, something I never did, and placed it in my nightstand drawer. Tomorrow was a new day, and for the first time in my life, I would be putting myself first. The next morning, I woke early, a lifetime habit of responsibility not easily broken. For a moment I lay still, the events of yesterday flooding back. The pain was still there, but duller now, less surprising. I made coffee and stood by my kitchen window, watching the neighborhood come to life. Across the street, the Sullivan family was loading suitcases into their minivan, probably heading home after their own Thanksgiving celebrations. A dog walker passed with 3 golden retrievers, their leashes tangled as they sniffed at fallen leaves. Normal life, continuing all around me. My phone remained off. I wasn't ready to face the barrage of messages, the minimizing, the gaslighting that would surely continue. Instead, I packed up most of the leftover food, turkey, stuffing, potatoes, green beans, 2 of the pies, and drove to the homeless shelter downtown. "This is a lot of food," said the volunteer at the door, a middle-aged man with kind eyes. "Family plans changed," I said simply. "I'd hate for it to go to waste." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That happens. Holidays can be complicated. Thanks for thinking of us." As I drove home, I felt a small spark of satisfaction. At least the food would be appreciated, would nourish people who needed it. That was something. Back at home, I finally turned on my phone. More messages, of course. One from Mom stood out. "Your father and I raised you better than this. This silent treatment is childish and hurtful." I laughed out loud at the irony. They'd excluded me from a family holiday, lied about it for weeks, and somehow I was the hurtful one. I was about to turn the phone off again when a text from an unexpected source came through. Diane, my friend who'd recently divorced. "Hey, just checking in. How was your Thanksgiving? Mine was quiet." I hesitated, then typed back, "Mine too, very quiet. I have leftovers if you're interested in an early dinner." 3 dots appeared immediately. "God, yes. I've been eating cereal all day. What time?" 5. "Bring wine if you want. I've got plenty." "Perfect. See you then." I spent the afternoon cleaning up the last traces of yesterday's disappointment. I removed the place cards with their carefully calligraphed names. I took down the fall-themed decorations I'd scattered throughout the house. I put away the crystal glasses I'd so proudly set out. By the time Diane arrived, my home looked normal again. No sign of the elaborate Thanksgiving that never happened. Just a cozy living room and the smell of reheating food. Diane brought not only wine, but a pint of premium ice cream. "In case of emotional emergency," she explained, putting it in my freezer. We sat at my kitchen island rather than the dining room table. I wasn't ready to revisit that scene just yet, and filled our plates with leftovers. "This is amazing," Diane said around a mouthful of turkey. "Why aren't you a chef?" I smiled, pleased by the simple compliment. Just a hobby. I don't get to cook for others very often. Their loss, Diane said firmly. Then, watching my face, okay, what's really going on? You look like you've been through the ringer. I hesitated. Diane and I were friends, but not especially close. We worked together at the marketing firm, occasionally met for happy hour, but rarely shared deeply personal things. Still, something about her direct gaze made me want to talk. My family bailed on Thanksgiving, I said finally. Without telling me, they went to Cancun instead. Diane's fork clattered against her plate. You're kidding? Nope. Found out when I called to ask where they were, after I'd spent 2 days cooking. That's awful. Her face flushed with indignation on my behalf. What did they say when you called them out? I told her everything, the call, the Instagram photos, the texts afterward. As I spoke, I realized how good it felt to say it all out loud, to have someone else witness the hurt and validate that yes, this was genuinely terrible behavior. Diane listened without interrupting, her expression growing increasingly outraged. When I finished, she sat back, shaking her head. Emma, I'm so sorry. That's beyond inconsiderate. It's cruel. The worst part is, they don't even see it that way. They think I'm overreacting, being dramatic. Classic gaslighting, Diane said firmly, making you doubt your perfectly reasonable feelings. We talked for hours, moving from my kitchen to my living room, opening a second bottle of wine. Diane shared stories of her ex-husband's family and their passive-aggressive holiday traditions. I told her more about my family's pattern of overlooking me while catering to my sister. You know what? Diane said finally, setting down her wine glass. We should do our own Thanksgiving, a redo, just people who actually appreciate each other. What do you mean? I mean, let's have a Friendsgiving tomorrow night. I'll invite a few people. Good people, no jerks allowed. We'll eat more of this amazing food, drink too much wine, and be thankful for chosen family instead of the ones we're stuck with. For the first time since yesterday's disaster, I felt a genuine smile spread across my face. That actually sounds really nice. It's settled then, Diane said, reaching for her phone. I'm texting people right now. My place, 7 o'clock tomorrow. You just bring the leftovers. Later, after Diane left, I stood in my kitchen feeling something I hadn't expected. Anticipation. Not dread, not resignation, but actual positive anticipation. I was looking forward to tomorrow's dinner with people who had chosen to be there, who wanted to be in my company. My phone buzzed again. Mom, of course. We're flying home Monday. We should talk Tuesday. Your father and I are very disappointed in how you're handling this. I read the message twice, feeling the familiar pull of guilt and obligation. The old Emma would have immediately responded, apologizing, smoothing things over, accepting all blame to restore family harmony. But I wasn't that Emma anymore. That Emma had been left sitting at an empty table, waiting for people who were never going to show up. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another. Finally, I settled on simple truth. I'm not ready to talk yet. I'll let you know when I am. Ooh, then I silenced the conversation again and went upstairs to bed, knowing that tomorrow would bring something new, a gathering of friends who showed up simply because they wanted to, not out of obligation or guilt or family ties. For the first time in my life, I wasn't putting my family first, and though part of me felt guilty for that, a stronger part felt, at last, truly free. The next morning, I woke to a flurry of texts from Diane. She'd invited 6 people to our impromptu Friendsgiving, and all had enthusiastically accepted. Hope that's not too many, her last message read. Everyone's excited to see you. I smiled at her enthusiasm. The prospect of a dinner with people who actually wanted to be there felt like a revelation. I spent the morning organizing the remaining leftovers, deciding what could be repurposed for tonight and what needed to be supplemented with fresh sides. Around noon, my phone rang. Melissa's name flashed on the screen. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Finally, she huffed. Mom's been freaking out. Why aren't you responding to her texts? No hello, no apology. Just immediate guilt-tripping. Classic Melissa. I told her I needed space, I said, keeping my voice neutral. God, Emma, you're such a drama queen. It's just Thanksgiving. It's not like we forgot your birthday or something. I almost laughed at the irony. They had in fact basically forgotten my last birthday, or at least made it clear how unimportant it was. You lied to me, I said simply. All of you. For weeks. We didn't lie. Her voice rose defensively. We just didn't tell you about the change of plans. There's a difference. You responded to my text about hosting with Can't Wait 3 weeks ago, when you were already in Cancun. Silence on the other end. Then okay, so maybe we should have told you sooner, but it wasn't intentional. Things have been crazy with the twins, and Melissa, I interrupted, do you actually think that makes it better? That I wasn't important enough to remember? That's not fair. You're twisting my words. No, I'm just not accepting your excuses. Not this time. What's that supposed to mean? I took a deep breath. It means I'm done being the understanding one. The one who always gets left out or overlooked and just smiles and says it's fine. It's not fine. Oh my God, she groaned. You've always been so sensitive. This is why we didn't tell you. We knew you'd make it all about you. Her words hit like a slap. Make it all about me? It was about me. It was my Thanksgiving dinner that you all agreed to attend. See? You're yelling now. She sounded smugly satisfied, as if my showing any emotion proved her point. I lowered my voice deliberately. I'm not going to do this, Melissa. I'm not going to let you make me the villain here. I need space from all of you right now. Fine. Be that way. But don't expect Mom and Dad to come begging. You're the one who's wrong here. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at the phone, feeling that familiar mixture of hurt, anger, and, worst of all, doubt. Was I overreacting? Was I making a big deal out of nothing? No. I shook my head firmly, banishing the thought. This was exactly how they always manipulated me, making me question my own feelings, my own perceptions, until I apologized for being hurt by their actions. Not this time. I spent the afternoon preparing for Diane's Friendsgiving. I whipped up a fresh batch of dinner rolls and made a new appetizer, brie en croûte with cranberry compote, to supplement the leftovers. The familiar rhythm of cooking calmed me, helping to push thoughts of Melissa's call to the back of my mind. Diane had texted that her apartment was too small for a sit-down dinner, so we'd be doing a casual buffet-style meal. The informal approach felt right. No pressure to recreate my perfect table setting, just good food and good company. At 6:30, I loaded up my car with the food and drove to Diane's place, a cozy one-bedroom in a converted warehouse downtown. When she opened the door, the apartment was already filled with people and laughter. The contrast to my silent house the day before couldn't have been more stark. Emma's here, Diane announced, taking the food containers from my arms, and she brought the feast. I recognized a few faces, Jack and Priya from our office, Carlos from accounting, who I knew only slightly. The others were strangers, but all smiled warmly as Diane introduced us. This is Emma, the culinary genius who made all this amazing food, she said, gesturing to the containers she was unloading onto her kitchen counter. It's leftover Thanksgiving food, I clarified, feeling suddenly shy. It's incredible is what it is, said a tall woman who'd been introduced as Diane's neighbor. I tried the stuffing when Diane brought some over this morning. I practically licked the plate. Everyone laughed, and I felt myself relaxing. These were just people, normal, kind people with no complicated history, no scorecard of past slights or obligations. The evening unfolded with an ease I hadn't expected. We ate standing or perched on Diane's mismatched furniture. We passed plates and complimented food and poured more wine. Someone put on music, not the carefully curated playlist I'd made, but something upbeat and current that got people swaying as they talked. "So how do you know Diane?" asked Carlos, refilling my wine glass. "We work together," I said. "Marketing department, you?" "College roommate's boyfriend's brother," he grinned. "But we reconnected when I took the accounting job. Diane's good at keeping in touch with people." "She is," I agreed, thinking how Diane had checked in on me yesterday when no one else had thought to. "She mentioned your family bailed on your dinner," Carlos said, his tone gentler. "That's rough." I tensed, waiting for the usual platitudes. "I'm sure they didn't mean it," or "family can be difficult." That minimized the hurt. Instead, he shook his head firmly. "Completely unacceptable behavior. I hope you're not letting them make you feel bad about being upset." His direct acknowledgement of the wrong done to me was so unexpected that I felt tears spring to my eyes. I blinked them away quickly. "I'm working on it." "Good, because you deserve better." He said it so matter-of-factly, as if it was an obvious truth rather than the revelation it felt like to me. The evening continued, flowing from dinner to dessert, my pies enthusiastically devoured, to board games that had everyone laughing. No one checked their phone obsessively. No one made passive-aggressive comments about the food or the apartment or each other. No one made me feel like I had to earn my place at the table. Around midnight, as the party wound down, Diane pulled me into a quick hug. "Thanks for coming, and for sharing your food, and for just being you." "Thank you for saving my Thanksgiving," I replied, feeling a rush of gratitude so intense it was almost overwhelming. "Any time. That's what friends are for. Friends." The word echoed in my mind as I drove home. I had friends, real ones, not just colleagues or acquaintances. People who showed up, people who saw me. My phone buzzed as I walked into my house. "Mom again. Your sister tells me you're still being difficult. This has gone on long enough, Emma. Call us tomorrow." The old familiar guilt rose up, but this time I recognized it for what it was. A trained response to my mother's manipulation, not an accurate reflection of who was in the wrong. I typed back, "I'm not being difficult. I'm protecting myself from people who hurt me and don't seem to care that they did. I'll call when I'm ready, not before." Then I turned off my phone again and went to bed, exhausted but oddly peaceful. For the first time in days, I slept without dreaming. Sunday passed quietly. I cleaned my house, went for a long walk, and started a novel I'd been meaning to read for months. My phone remained off. It felt like a small rebellion, but an important one. Monday morning, I had to turn it back on for work. 27 texts and 13 missed calls awaited me, most from Mom, a few from Dad, 2 from Melissa. I skimmed them without reading closely, already knowing what they'd say. Variations on the same theme. I was being unreasonable, selfish, childish. What struck me now was how predictable it all was, how the pattern had played out exactly as expected. They'd exclude me, then blame me for being hurt, then escalate to anger when I didn't immediately forgive them. It was a dance we'd performed countless times before, and I'd always played my part perfectly, but not anymore. At work, Diane stopped by my desk mid-morning. "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected," I said truthfully. "Thank you again for Saturday. It really helped." "Good." She hesitated. "I hope this isn't overstepping, but Carlos asked for your number. He said you had a good conversation." I felt a small flutter of surprise, followed by pleasure. "That's not overstepping at all." "I'd like that." "Great, I'll let him know." She turned to go, then looked back. "Oh, and a bunch of us are doing a holiday cookie exchange in December. You're in, right? Your baking skills are too good to waste." "I'd love that." After she left, I sat at my desk, a strange feeling expanding in my chest. It wasn't happiness exactly. The hurt from my family's rejection was still too raw for that. It was more like possibility. The sense that there might be a different way to live. One where I wasn't constantly striving for approval from people who would never fully give it. Mum called at exactly 5:01 p.m., just as I was packing up to leave the office. Right on schedule. She'd always been strategic about calling when she knew I'd be leaving work, tired and more likely to give in. This time, I let it go to voicemail. Her message was what I'd expected. "Emma, this has gone on long enough. Your father and I are back from Mexico. We're coming over tomorrow evening to sort this out. We'll bring dinner, 7 o'clock. Not asking if I was available. Not suggesting a time that worked for me. Just informing me of their decision. Expecting compliance." I texted back, "I'm not available tomorrow evening. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk." Her response was immediate. "This is ridiculous. We're your parents." I didn't reply. Instead, I drove home, made a simple dinner, and spent the evening researching therapists. It was time, long past time, to get professional help in untangling the web of guilt and obligation that had bound me to my family's dysfunction for so long. Tuesday evening, I was finishing a virtual consultation with a therapist I'd found, Dr. Abigail Chen, who specialized in family dynamics, when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the living room window, I watched my parents emerge from their SUV, Dad carrying takeout food. They'd ignored my text saying I wasn't available. Of course they had. Boundaries meant nothing to them. The doorbell rang. I opened the door, but stayed firmly in the threshold, not stepping back. "Finally," Mum said, brushing past me anyway. "We've been worried sick." Dad followed with an awkward side hug. "Hey, Princess, we brought Chinese, your favorite." I closed the door slowly. "I told you I wasn't available tonight," Mom waved dismissively. "Don't be silly, we're already here." Actually, I meant what I said. I'm not ready to talk yet. "Emma." Mom's voice took on that familiar tone of exasperated patience. "It's been 5 days. This silent treatment is childish." "It's not silent treatment. It's me taking space after being deliberately excluded from a family holiday." "It wasn't deliberate," Mom exclaimed. "It was a miscommunication." Dad stepped in. "We should have called you directly instead of asking Melissa. That was our mistake. You were already in Cancun when I called to confirm everyone was coming. You lied to me." Mom's face flushed. "We did not lie. We just didn't want to hurt your feelings by letting me cook a full Thanksgiving dinner for 7 people who weren't coming. Emma, you're making this a much bigger deal than it is. It was just dinner. Just dinner. Just weeks of planning, days of cooking, hundreds of dollars spent. Just my heart breaking as I sat alone at a table meant for 7. It wasn't just dinner," I said quietly. "It was the final straw. The last in a pattern of me being the last to know, the last considered, the first forgotten." My parents stared at me blankly. "Those are all different situations," Mom said. "You're connecting dots that aren't related." "They are related. They're all examples of me being treated as less important than everyone else." Mom's expression hardened. "So you're keeping score? Holding on to every perceived slight like some victim?" There it was, the familiar deflection, making me the villain for pointing out how I'd been hurt. "I'm not keeping score. I'm recognizing a pattern and deciding I won't participate in it anymore." "What does that even mean?" Mom demanded. "It means I'm setting boundaries. I won't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not." The tension in the room was palpable. Mom looked ready to argue further, but Dad placed a hand on her arm. "Let's all just calm down," he said. "Emma, we're sorry about Thanksgiving. We should have told you about Cancun. Can we just move past this?" "That's exactly what I'm talking about," I said. "You want me to move past being hurt without acknowledging why it happened or making any real changes." "Ooh, what do you want from us?" Mom asked, exasperated. "I want you to understand that your actions hurt me. I want you to respect my boundaries when I say I need space, and I want to be treated with the same consideration you give to Melissa and everyone else." "We do treat you the same," Mom insisted. "No, you don't, but I can't make you see that if you're not willing to look." We stood in a tense triangle, decades of family dynamics concentrated into this single moment. Finally, Dad sighed. "Maybe we should go, give everyone time to cool off." "I think that would be best," I agreed. Mum looked shocked. "You're actually asking us to leave?" "Yes, I am." For perhaps the first time in my life, I watched uncertainty flash across my mother's face. She wasn't used to me standing firm. "Fine," she said finally. "Call us when you're done with whatever this is." As they gathered their things, Dad paused. "You know we love you, right, Princess?" "I know you think you do," I replied softly, "but love should make you feel valued, not forgotten." After they left, I sat alone in my quiet house. But this time the silence felt different, not empty, but full of possibility. My phone buzzed with a text from Carlos. "Dinner Friday?" I smiled and typed back, "I'd like that." Then another text arrived, from Diane. "Cookie exchange planning meeting tomorrow. You in?" "Definitely," I responded. A week ago, I'd prepared a perfect Thanksgiving table for people who didn't show up. Tonight, I was building a life filled with people who actually wanted to be there. I walked to my mantel and picked up a family photo from last Christmas, all of us in matching sweaters smiling for the camera. I studied it for a moment, then placed it face down. Maybe someday we'd find a way forward, my family and I. Maybe someday they'd understand what I was asking for. But I wouldn't wait for that day to start living. I'd spent enough time setting places at tables for people who never showed up. It was time to join a different feast.